That's what they had asked us to do, and but with the recommendation that it wasn't worth doing. And we showed this little sketch, which is a badly done drawing, of a thing that could be added to the outside of a shoe that would allow the shoe to be more stable and more of a custom fit. So it was an inflatable cuff that could be inflated with a pump that would be built into the cuff, and it would stabilize the ankle, because we thought that since people started wearing rigid plastic shoes when they went skiing, they didn't break their ankles anymore, but that would be impractical to play basketball. But that air was something very light and very inexpensive. So we presented the shoe, we presented these ideas, and the director of marketing for basketball shoes at Reebok said, "We're not interested in that idea. We have no evidence in any of our focus groups that the consumer is looking for a shoe that can inflate and reduce injuries. We want an energy return system." Fortunately, in the meeting, the president of the company, Paul Fireman, was there, and he said, "Oh, wait a minute, this is an interesting idea. Can we take this further?" So we did. We made the model that you see on the right. That's an initial model. That's what we would call an experiential model, because when you design something, too often the focus is on its appearance. But we have multiple senses, and the way we perceive the world is through all of these senses. And in this case, we wanted to see, how does this idea really fit on the foot, right? It's like a chair. A chair is always presented as a beautiful object. But when you sit in it, you don't perceive it with your eyes. You perceive it with a different part of your anatomy. In this case, we wanted to know, how does this idea feel on the foot? So we took a shoe, we cut it up, we put in a blood pressure cuff from a medical device, and we inflated it, and it felt better. It provided good adhesion to the foot. So we went back and we said, "Here, try it," because we had made the shoe in different sizes, and Paul Fireman tried it, and other people tried it, and they said, "Well, that's really interesting. Can you take this further? Because we have the Super Show coming up in 9 months, and maybe we can show it there." So we did. So we learned a lot from this. And what we learned from this project, we try to apply to every project. So here's what we learned. First of all, no matter what we're asked to do by our clients, we need to step back. We need to understand whether what we're being asked to do is the right thing to do. The second was that you don't really you don't develop any innovative ideas by simply asking people what they want and giving people what they want, because people don't really know what they want. That the best way to understand what could really resonate with people is by looking at what they actually do. And that when you look for what people actually do, you look for clues. And those clues can be problems, but even more importantly is for meaning. What does something mean to people? Because what we realized was the fact that we put the little pump on the tongue of the shoe became a status symbol. We'd see kids walking around with the tongue of the shoe sticking out of the pants because they were status symbols. And Reebok started selling shoes that were not pumps, but with the same kind of round logo on the tongue. There was meaning. Needed to always design to the total experience. And the total experience is that we have multiple senses. So we want to design to all of those senses. But also the value that something provides, the relationship between its performance to you, its value to you, and how much it costs is really important. That to understand whether you're in the right direction, you need to model it. And by model it, I don't mean just modeling it to see if it looks good, but modeling it to know if it fits in the context, if it feels good, if it fits in people's lives. So modeling the experience, not just modeling the aesthetic. To test in context, not bring people into a meeting room and ask them what they think only, but going out to where they live, going out to where the context of something exists, and then testing there and learning there. And that's where you find what we call the sweet spot. The sweet spot is that area of innovation that is really valuable to a large number of people and is manufacturable and is cost effective. And that then you need to actually, once you've found the sweet spot, which is the ha-ha moment, you need to be able to refine the idea and to make it real as soon as possible. And that means the integration of multiple capabilities. And lastly, almost lastly, is the realization that focus groups are not just not useful, they kill innovation. Because focus groups only reinforce the preconception that people have, usually in organizations, people that want to try, that want to avoid failure, and thereby they take what they think is the safest route, giving people what they want, which probably guarantees failure. I should say that at some point in time, the brand manager of basketball shoes at Reebok stated that the pump shoe was his idea all along. And lastly, that design innovation. So it's design innovation, the two things together. And what I mean by that is not technological innovation. It's the innovation of the way something interacts with people is really, really, really valuable. And that's important to us because we run a business and we want to charge a lot of money for our service. So design innovation, what do we mean by design innovation? So as I mentioned before, for us, design innovation is understanding people, understanding the customer, the people that have something to do with a product or service that you want to develop. Understanding the problems, but the problems are pretty easy to understand. You can observe them, you can identify solutions, and they become features. What's equally important is what's up above, is understanding that the value that people have in association with a certain context, with a certain activity, a certain product. What their aspirations are, right? What is it that they really want to do in their lives that this thing might affect, or in their children's lives? And to create from that, perhaps, a more ideal experience for them. And that these two areas, the values and problems, are, by understanding them, you can develop ideas that are really valuable, and ideas that translate into the way you develop and communicate a brand, what that brand stands for, the channels of distribution, the service system of something, the product itself, and that all of these go into the total customer experience. So a number of years ago, I came up with this formula, which is a non-existent mathematical formula. I've taken great grief from the engineers and scientists and staff. What it actually is a cheap way of using our logo, which is the U underlined, but in this case, it means understanding. And it says that U equals P to the power of 4. One of the reasons why this is not a real mathematical formula is because mathematics works in all languages, but this only works in English. So U is understanding, and P to the power of 4 relates to 4 dimensions of reality that we as designers need to understand and delve into in order to develop really meaningful ideas.